Hey everyone, welcome back to Pitcher's Projects. I'm Cody Pitcher, and I've got my next project sitting back here behind me. It's a headache rack, and it's gonna go on my brother's truck. He actually bought this on another truck that he's gonna do some different things with. And so he took it off that truck, and before we really get it mounted onto his truck, we're gonna do some upgrades to it. We're gonna clean it up a little bit and increase the functionality just a little bit. We're gonna fabricate and put on a rail just above these bed rails, and that's going to help him, so he'll be able to strap ratchet straps to the rail. And in addition to that, it's going to I think make the truck look pretty good, increase the style points, if you will. So I'm not going to be doing much work on it tonight. Today I'm basically just going to be doing some planning, some measuring and conceptualizing what this is going to look like, and hopefully tomorrow I can actually come out and really start working on it. So I'll bring you along when I'm ready. We'll see ya.
Okay, it's a new day and I've got some time today to work on this project. I've got somewhat of a plan in mind. I haven't finalized every detail yet, and that's okay. Most of my projects I start out like this, and I get enough of a plan in my mind that I can get started, and then the rest of it just kind of comes together as I go. I'm going to make use of the front of this boat trailer project. I've got a bunch of steel kind of laying on it right now, and I'm going to make use of the front of it as kind of a work platform right now, because, well, my sawhorses that I usually use underneath this piece of metal over here as my work table, my sawhorses are kind of being used. So I'm gonna have to use the front of this trailer as a work platform. All right, here goes. Okay, so I've got the first piece ready to cut out. I've got it kind of fit into place and measured. And so the steel we're using on this is a 1.5 by 1.5 inch square tube that has a thickness of 3/16. And we wanted to go a little thicker and stronger on this because, well, he may be ratcheting to this, putting a lot of pressure on it, and we didn't want to have this thing bent. We want it to look cool but also be very functional. So we don't want it to get bent up and first off lose its functionality, second off make it not look cool, and that would kind of destroy the whole purpose of building this thing. So anyways, it's going to be very strong. So here goes.
Okay, so I've got the rail and I've got the angled support piece that's going to go with it sitting in place, and now I need to put a cap on that rail. So I've got this piece here, I've got it stuck to the end of a magnet right now, and I've been shaping and cutting it to the right size, and let me show you why I'm shaping it like this. So it'll fit all the way down deep inside, it'll be flush with the outside rail, and it'll be flush with that piece, and I need some area, so I'm going to weld it, and along this left side right here you can see that there's just nowhere for weld fill to go. So on the right side you'll see I've got a little beveled edge right there, and that is so that I can actually fill with weld and create some strength in that, so this cap doesn't just pop off or get a crack in the weld or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and keep doing a little beveled edge on this left side, and then it's about ready to weld in. I might continue on and do some other work, cutting and shaping, before I start welding. I've got some weather I'm kind of watching to see what happens. Obviously, I'm out here working in my yard, and welding in the rain just doesn't really work very well for me.
Try not to do anything stupid like getting yourself killed.
And along with one of these storms blowing through, the wind could pick up. Luckily right now the wind's not bad, but the wind would be pretty bad for the welds. If the wind really picked up, it'd be really hard to get a nice clean weld. Well, the camera got hot and overheated, and so that was a good reminder for me to go and cool off and get some more water, refill my water, get another drink. Got some Gatorade too, get some electrolytes in me. I've got several of the pieces cut, but I've got a couple more to cut. And I've got this rail sitting in place I still need to get a piece to cap that off. And so it's coming along. I've got a storm over here that I'm watching that just dumped a ton of rain just a mile or so away from me over there. And I'm just watching these storms to see what's going to happen, to see if I need to hurry and clean up and head inside or if I can keep working. All right, round 2, here goes. Okay, well, got a few more pieces cut. I do have some wind picking up, so I will be surprised if I'm able to do any welding today. I've got a few things to cut up though. Let's look at this. So this rail, I'm not sure what was on here, but there's these 3 things that were welded on, and I'm gonna have to come in and cut these off. Okay, so the camera got hot and overheated yet again, but I was able to at least get this rail cleaned up a little better. You can see the spots where the 3 pieces were at, and you can see I'm down to raw steel there now, where the rest of this, I have spent some time and got all the paint and clear coat off of it, but you can still see all the mill scale. So that's the difference between the raw steel and the mill scale still on the steel. There's a couple spots like this where there were some nicks and cuts in the metal, so I might just go ahead and weld through that and clean that up a little better. There's a whole bunch of spots where there's holes drilled through here, and I probably will go ahead and weld those up. I ran my step bit through them and got a lot of the rust off of it so that the new weld will hold on really well. While I was going through and removing paint, I found a pretty big crack up here towards this corner. You can see it a lot better from the bottom. And so while we're doing work on this thing, we'll go ahead and, I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's cracked all the way from this outside edge in about 2 to 2.5 inches. So we'll go ahead and cut out a little valley out of there so I can weld that back in, both on the top and the bottom. And the wind did kick up a little bit. I haven't received any rain today, but I've had storms all around me. It's actually been quite a sight. It's been really fun to watch. Haven't had any rain here. I've heard lightning and thunder in the distance, but I've kind of been in a little bubble right here, occasionally getting shade, which is really nice. And I'll just keep going until I can't. Okay, well, I'm stopping there. I'm starting to put some tools away. I am starting to get a couple raindrops, and I think there's more heading my way. And starting to get a little closer, louder thunder. So, yeah, probably not the best idea to be out here surrounded by metal. Okay, it's a new day. It's already been about a week since the last time I worked on this project, and during that week we got actually quite a bit of rain. So some of the surface rust and stuff that I was able to remove last time is already back. So I'm gonna have to redo a little bit of that work, but I'm gonna try and get this thing welded up today. The wind is already blowing, and it's only gonna get windier as the day goes on. So I'm gonna try and hurry.
Okay, I got those done. They are cut back and all rounded and smoothed out on both sides. And next thing I'm gonna start doing is start filling all of these holes that are all over the place. Okay, so my GoPro overheated and turned off, so I'm using my cell phone now. And the wind kind of calmed down, so I couldn't wait for the GoPro to cool off. I just had to hurry and start welding. So I did hurry and grind out a little valley out of that crack, and I've got that welded. I'll come back and touch it up with a grinder. And on these holes, you might be wondering, how in the world am I gonna fill these big, huge holes? So what I've done is I've started on one side of the hole, and I just start building it in. I just move back and forth from one side of the hole up and around to the other side of the hole, and I very slowly start filling it in, and then I let it cool off, and I move to another hole, and I do that one for a moment, and I let it cool off, and I start working on this hole, and then I start working on this hole, and I went back to this hole. So I've done, I think, 2, maybe 3 passes on each of these so far, and as you can see, they're about halfway filled up about. So a couple more passes of filling and then letting it cool, and then filling and letting it cool, and these will be all filled up, and then I'll touch them from the bottom too and make sure they're all filled up on the bottom. Okay, so I spent the last hour or so grinding down all these welds that I did, and even top and bottom. So it's looking a lot better. I'm going to start off by capping off the end of this rail. I've got the cap piece sitting inside there, and I've got it held on by a magnet, hopefully to keep it flush with the outside of my cut edge there. So I'm going to tack the corners really well, pull that magnet off, and go ahead and burn the whole thing in. Okay, now I'm going to tack the other 2 corners and then go ahead and burn the whole thing in. That'll do. Now on to the next side. Okay, I've got these rails capped off and ground down, and they look really good. I'm happy with how they've turned out. Next up is to start welding on the little support pieces, and I got to get those all lined up, and I'll probably use some magnets to line up exactly where they're supposed to go. All right, here goes. Okay, I've got it lined up where I want it. Now it's time to tack it on.
a little bit more.
Okay, so that's my brother Rick. He was here just long enough to set this whole headache rack and thing up into his truck, mark out and drill holes where they need to be, and we pulled it back out, and I'm gonna go ahead and hurry and weld these rails onto the bed rails. So here goes. Alright, this thing's as done as I'm getting it. The only thing left to do would be to like finish it with powder coat or paint, and I think he is going to have it powder coated, and I think it turned out pretty good. Hopefully I can get a glamour shot in the truck once it's painted with the truck wash and everything. If I can get that kind of glamour shot, I will post it on the end of this video. But I think it looks pretty dang good, and it's going to serve him well, and certainly strong. So anyways, all right, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
I like it a lot.